Ferrari have been the undoubted star of pre-season testing so far, producing a car that's been quick straight out of the box and looks superb out on the track. After several near misses in the title races of the last couple of seasons, is this the year that Ferrari will finally make the breakthrough and win the World Championship in the hybrid era? I'm joined by F1 reporters Roberto Chinchero and Scott Mitchell to talk all things Ferrari. Roberto, you probably have greater insight into Ferrari than anyone in this paddock. What do you make of how they've been on the track so far? Is the progress real?
Is the progress real? I agree. I think that they are not starting from a big revolution. It's the concept of 2018 cars. They try to develop in an extreme way all the small thing. Is a new car, completely new car, but the base concept is the same one of last year. So I was expecting a good car from the beginning.
They seem quite relaxed. Mercedes obviously have been bringing big parts to the car this week, whereas Ferrari seem to be just making small changes, seem quite happy with the concept. Is that a sign of the confidence flowing through Maranello that they're in for a good season?
They are very confident. I think they are very confident. We have seen the long run is very good. We are still waiting for the qualifying mode, but I think the team is confident. They didn't change a lot in the team, so I think it's the natural development of last year project. So I think the team, especially for the first part of the season, is very confident.
And can you see any problems potentially slipping Ferrari up? We know they've had reliability concerns in the past. Obviously, they made mistakes operationally last season in the title race. How are things looking on that score?
I think we have seen just the first problem of the season was a cooling problem. They have lost a couple of hours.
That was yesterday.
Yes. But I think the main question is how the team will develop the car this year. Because last year the biggest problem was that in the second part of the season the update didn't work as the team expected. So I think that is the big point. The car is not a revolution, it is as we said, is an evolution. So we don't know yet how much this project has the potential to develop the car there for the future. That is the main point. But I think the first part of the season the car will be in front.
And the big change off-season for Ferrari was in the management team. Obviously Maurizio Riva-Bene, as we know, has departed, and Mattia Binotto, a Ferrari veteran, has now taken over the helm. Do you sense a cultural shift now within Maranello? How are the team feeling about their new leader?
The car is still red, so the car is there, but I think that the biggest news is Charles Leclerc. I think he's the kind of fresh air in the team. And then, of course, Mattia, that is managing now the team in the way he would like to manage in the past, but he can't because he had other vision in his bosses. And my impression is the team are very relaxed, very focused in the job. I'm expecting that from the technical side, the people is pushing in the same direction, everybody. So I think the team looks very fine, relaxed, no pressure from the outside. And as I said, Charles is the biggest news of the season, and the way he started in this testing here was very, very impressive.
Yeah, I was going to say, Scott, you had dinner with Mattia Binotto last night, a part of a reach out to the media, Ferrari bringing down the barriers, shall we say, compared to recent years. So what were your impressions of Ferrari's new man at the top?
Well, I think we got the sort of the slightly later treatment that you had in Italy a couple of weeks ago. It's part of a charm offensive, really, that Binotto and Ferrari are on. I think they've seen this as an opportunity to sort of sweep through with a new broom quite aggressively, effectively. It's not just Binotto. It's not just the fact that Leclerc's in the car. They've overhauled the communications team. They just seem to have taken this opportunity to basically say, okay, we've identified things that we think are wrong, but we also would like to know what you guys think wasn't great. Drawing a line in the sand with the media early on is a really, really good sign, as is things like saying that they might have to prioritise Sebastian Vettel early in the season while Leclerc finds his feet. That's fine. There's no problem with that. The problem in the past with Ferrari was they were almost apologetic when it came to team orders. So there's basically just this shift within the team, and it radiates through the drivers. It radiates through the way that Binotto is sort of more relaxed, the way the communications team are sort of happy to speak to you. And okay, they might not always give you the answer you want, but at least you'll get an answer now. Whereas before, I mean, Roberto will know this better than us, because while we have complained about the access we had to Ferrari last year or in the past, there was still sort of like a crumb, I think, for especially Italian media. So I think for us it seems like a much bigger shift, and it is encouraging, because if you eliminate that sort of project fear mentality and the team works better, everyone's happier, there is no paranoia, none of that sets in. Everyone, you become much more sort of confident to innovate instead of being scared of repercussions if you get it wrong. So all the signs look good. I'm wary of talking them up too much and like it getting to Melbourne and it being an absolute disaster, but it does look genuinely promising for Ferrari, especially with its new leader.
Well, Riva Bene identified this culture of fear during his time at Ferrari. He said that the team had all the tools it needed to win, but just needed to get over this fear of failure. It sounds like they're more confident. It sounds like the culture has been shifted with Binotto rising to the top. So, Roberto, do you think they're finally ready now to take that last step and beat Mercedes?
I think they have everything to try to win this more championship. I think last year they had the two biggest problems. One was the development of the car, the upgrade didn't work, and Sebastian did too much mistake, because if you consider him a top driver, he lost too much point. When you are running for the World Championship, you cannot lose any point. Lewis' standard is very high. You have to compete with a driver that is absolutely fantastic. I think this year is more relaxed. I think it will be very important to start in a good way. If you start in a good way, I think you remove pressure, you have a better context, you don't have people that is afraid to lose job, to lose consistency in the team. I think that Melbourne, China, Bahrain will be crucial for the Ferrari season.
One of the big early victories I think that this change at Ferrari has had, or the confidence from how good the SF90 looks, is Vettel seems to be in a much sort of better headspace. We know that he's possibly the most emotional driver on the grid. When things go badly, he will be affected by that, but when things go well, when there is that positive spiral, Vettel will benefit from that more than most drivers, if not any other driver. He seems to be sort of riding this wave, and that's really important when you've got Leclerc alongside you, because we're expecting Charles to sort of hit the ground running. And the best thing for Ferrari, I think, is that Vettel comes out the blocks absolutely flying in Australia, with Leclerc sort of nipping at his heels but not causing too many problems early on. That's probably Ferrari's dream scenario. Your four-time world champion, your guide to winning the world title, absolutely comes out flying. Leclerc's taking points off Mercedes and sort of showing himself, building his confidence, but not causing any problems. The real interesting thing will be if and when it starts to go a bit wrong, when Leclerc starts putting too much pressure on Vettel, and the first time we see new look Ferrari have to deal with effectively an internal or external crisis.
Yeah, that'll be the big test. I mean, things look really good so far. Obviously, Ferrari have started strong, but there's still a long way to go in testing and a long way to go until the first race, and that'll be the true acid test of this new regime, won't it?
Absolutely, especially because at the moment everything's sort of, I think Binotto even himself admits, he sort of says, I haven't really done anything. He's not been there long enough to enact any sort of substantial, tangible change. That does him a bit of a disservice, really, because sometimes you just benefit from just not being the person who was there before. But at the moment, everything's easy. Everyone's happier. The car looks really good. Vettel's happy. Leclerc's new and excited. Everything's mega, basically. It will get harder, and how Binotto and Ferrari respond to those changes is ultimately going to be one of the defining factors of the season.
Well, shortly after we recorded our original Ferrari segment, Sebastian Vettel did us the discourtesy of flying off the track and into the barriers at turn 3. We've seen some images of the crash which curtailed Ferrari's running, and we've also heard from Seb himself. So Scott, can you explain what went wrong for Vettel, and what does this do for Ferrari's test programme?
Yeah, so the consequences are bigger than just us having to record an extra part of the video. It's a bit more of a tangible impact for Ferrari, quite literally, because he did fly off into the barriers. So what we've seen with our own eyes, based on the images, is that we saw the front left of the front wing hit the ground and spark. So there was something's happened on the front left of the car. As Vettel put it, the damage that was done in the accident was not insignificant. So it's made it harder to identify what actually failed. When you look at it like that, you're sort of guesstimating. It's sort of balance of probability. But the fact that the left of the front wing was touching the ground suggests either the front wing broke, or maybe there was something wrong with the suspension or something like that. So the consequence is that Ferrari have been off track for several hours. At this stage, we don't know if they were going to get out in time for the end of running, which means Leclerc, having spent a couple of hours in the garage yesterday on day one of the second test because of cooling problems, now faces the prospect of missing the entire second half of the second day. So it's a big setback for Ferrari after what was a really encouraging start to testing last week.